Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and I'm inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work.
I was encouraged by my book coach, write the book you want to write. And so I was like, okay, so I'm not going to worry if other people are going to like it. This is the book I really want to write. And I feel like for me, it came from my heart, that I was vulnerable in a lot of it. At the end of it, I tell my story of trying to make it as an entrepreneur. And it was hard. It was just hard. A lot of tears. And even every time I read that section, I just start tearing up. I can't help it. And I was doing the audio recording of it. And I got to that part and I just had to stop because I was like, I'm sorry. I was about to start crying, and so it's just, I'm just trying to be myself. I just don't let fear control me not moving forward.
That was Wendy Conklin, Wendy of Chair Whimsy. I am so excited to have Wendy with us today. Wendy is a lifelong Texas gal who is married with 2 adult daughters and a 1-year-old Boston Terrier, Maui, who you'll get to hear a little bit about in today's conversation. So Wendy's mission in life is to fill our lives with happiness, joy, and whimsy. And her popular chair design and styling courses, which sell by the thousands, teach her unique approach to color and fabrics and design, and all with the purpose and intent of showing us how creative expression can upgrade our joy in life. She also has the P.I.N.K Creatives Business Retreat with Sara McDaniel of Simply Southern Cottage, who you met in episode 21. And together they are helping creative entrepreneurs, entreprenistas, bring their visions to life. And those retreats sell out each and every time that they offer them, which is just so incredible and exciting. So today in this conversation and episode of Courage Becomes Her, Wendy and I talk about her leap of faith to write and publish her new book called Life Whimsy. And she says that the purpose or the intent of Life Whimsy is to help you to recapture your joy and lift your spirits. She says it's like licking the sugary rim of a lemon margarita, which she has the recipe for that in the book. So in our conversation, she talks about why she decided to write a book, the financial commitment of doing so, the steps that she took to actually get the book written, why she decided to self-publish and some of those steps, and her launch party plan of getting the book out into the world. We also talk about her mental and emotional preparation and how she just simply would not let fear or outside pressures keep her from moving forward. She also talks about how, true to her nature, she wanted to intentionally incorporate fun and joy into every step of the book writing and publishing process. So I know you are going to just love this wonderful conversation filled with joy and whimsy and happiness with Wendy today. Wendy, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation today for Courage Becomes Her. I'm really glad to have you on as a guest today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we are going to dive in and talk about writing a book in just a moment. But before we do, let's get to know you a little bit. So first and foremost, where is home?
So home is just north of Austin in Round Rock, Texas. And we've been here about 20 years.
Wonderful. And you've been, would you describe your house as like an old farmhouse, or what would it be?
So it is actually a Victorian house,
okay.
But the interesting thing about it, so we are in the historic district, but my house is not old. My house is 20 years old. They built it the year we moved here. And I remember when they were building it because my dad and I were driving by, snooping at houses and stuff. And we saw them building this. And we really wanted to come in and snoop around, but we could tell it was a private builder. So we didn't feel like we could do it. And so it was about 8 years later that we actually bought this house and moved in. But so they had built this house. All the other homes in my neighborhood are historic homes. So they built it to look like it fits in, but it doesn't have all the problems. Like it has
Yes.
20-year-old house problems, not, 100-year-old house problems. So
Wow.
yeah,
Oh my
it's really
gosh.
nice.
I never would have guessed because it does look
Yeah.
like, at least from the videos and pictures I've seen, like an old home. So that's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. So
Hmm.
fun. Good. All right. How about what is something that has made you laugh or filled your cup in the last 24 hours or so?
Oh gosh. Well, I would have to say it has to be my dog, Maui. I mean, he's a puppy still. He's just a year old and he is just up for anything, up for play at all moments, all especially when it's time for him to go to bed. He's like a little kid, it's like, "Oh no, I want to play now." I don't want to have to go get in my crate and go to sleep. So, I mean, he keeps us constantly laughing just the way he runs around. His all four legs are going in different directions and he's just a lot of fun.
He is a cutie. I do enjoy when he makes an appearance in a
Yeah.
video or something of yours. So I
Hmm.
know that he's become kind of like, people look for glimpses of Maui. So
Yeah.
fun. That's great. How about a current obsession in any genre?
Oh gosh. Are you thinking like movies or TV? Like,
Anything, podcast, product,
mm.
food.
Well, I've really been enjoying this past year. I grew up in the 70s, which was like horror movies, okay? And
Yes.
I mean, none of my family likes those kind of movies. And it's not that I love those kind of movies, but I do like these intense. I'm a very intense. I was a big fan of like Breaking Bad. I love
Okay.
all those kinds of dark shows. And so I have been obsessed with watching the show Severance, and it's
Oh,
on
yeah.
Apple TV, but it is one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. And it's very different in that it reminded me of Lost. And the reason why is because it was just so different of a show than any other show that I've seen. And so the first couple of episodes of Severance is kind of weird. These people are waking up on a table and they don't know who they are. They don't know where they are, and so basically the whole premise of the story at the beginning is when they go to work, they have opted into having their brain severed. And when they're at work, they don't know who they are at home. And when they're at home, they don't know who they are at work. So they go up this elevator and, the brain switches. And so they are doing these two different lives and they opt into this. And so it tells the backstory of why some people have done it. And then it's just, it is so good and so interesting. And I can't wait for the second season.
Wow.
And because of that, it made me start watching Lost. So I went back through the entire,
Oh my
there are some
gosh.
long seasons, like 26 episodes in a
Yeah.
season. I mean, it
Yep.
was crazy. So for the writer's strike year, and then I only had like 12 or something. So I sat and binge watched, and I never binge watch. I am not that way. And I felt like such a loser, just binge watching TV. But it was so good, and for watching Severance, I'm like, well, I have to go back and watch Lost because they
Wow.
remind me of each other. There's weird things in both that aren't explainable. It's not real life. It's not exactly so. It's just kind of you suspend belief there for both of those
Yeah.
shows, and I really enjoyed them.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I haven't seen
Mhm.
Severance. I definitely watched Lost, and yeah, I think
Yeah,
when you find something good, is binge worthy, then it's fun to binge
yeah,
it. So, all
yeah.
right. How about a book that transformed your life?
Oh gosh, I would say Creating Your Best Life. Caroline Miller Adams
Hmm.
is the author. And so she is also, a business coach of sorts. I've never been coached by her at all, but I really love her. I love her book. She's written a book on grit, and I really like her philosophy. And it
Hmm.
probably resonates with me because I am an achiever.
Yep.
I am very driven. And so I can tell that she is too. She was an athlete in high
Hmm.
school and college. She was a swimmer. And so she talks a lot about, developing grit in your life. And, when we go through these really hard things and hard times, how that can help us to be a better person develop these great strengths
Mm.
so that we can help others, but also tackle even harder things that may come in our future. So I really have enjoyed her book, Creating Your Best Life.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you. I've heard of her, but I've never read anything by her. So I'll have to
Mm-hmm.
add some of her to my list.
Mm-hmm.
How about Enneagram and or love language? Do you know what you are for either of those?
So I know I'm a 3. I
Yeah,
don't know
the
all the
achiever.
others, but I know what I am.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I'm more of a Clifton Strengths Finder.
Mm.
I've been through that, and one of my good friends is a coach that helps people with that. So she's given me the test, talked me through, and of course she knows me, so she can say, "Oh yeah, you're this way because of this, and this." But the 3 on the Enneagram scale, that to me, I used to really hate this. I've accepted it about myself, but I used to really hate that. Well, I used to think I didn't care what other people thought. Okay. First was up. I'd
Uh-huh.
be like, I don't
Uh-huh.
care what other people think. I'm doing whatever I think. And I mean, to some degree, that's true. But on the other hand, I really do care what other people think, like about my brand. Like I'm very, very careful, try to be thoughtful about my business, what I stand for, how it looks. That really matters. And, it's probably a little over a year ago that I was working with somebody who was trying out some things. They were wanting to start coaching, so they wanted to do some trial things. And I said, "Well, I'll sign up, and you can work your magic on me." And so he started going through the whole Enneagram 3, and he's like, "Oh yeah, and you really care about what other people think about these certain things."
Mm.
And I mean, when I realized that about myself, I really hated it that I did care so much. But on the flip side of it, just accepting that and realizing, well, that's probably why I've been able to this point to build a really good brand, because I
Hmm.
have cared very much about the way I want my brand to be perceived by others. And so, my aesthetic, things like that, it's not, I don't do it out of fear, but I do it because it's when it's your hard work, you want to
Yeah.
feel proud of what you've done, and you don't want to just slap things together.
Yeah, absolutely. And have that affirmation as a response from people as a result.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And then, the Clifton Strengths Finder, of course, number one is achiever.
Yes,
So this
yeah.
is not hard to figure out, but like, one of my top 5 is significance. And,
Mm.
I need to feel like what I'm doing is making a difference. Like
Hmm.
that really matters to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any kind of job where I don't feel like I'm making a difference in other people's lives. And so it's really interesting to see how in different careers that I've had, how that has always played a role, how it's been always very important to me, that trait. So and competition is another one in my top 5, which is really funny because like I don't think I compete with other people, but I do compete with myself.
Yes. Yeah.
And I see the same trait in my youngest daughter. She's very much
Mm.
like me in a lot of ways. She's definitely an achiever. Significance is high for her too. So we do have a lot in common, and I can see it in her. So it's so interesting to sit back and see. Feels like you're looking in a mirror, sometimes. But
Yes.
yeah, I don't know for love languages. I wonder, I think maybe remind me what they are again. Gifts is gifts and giving.
Yep. Gifts, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, physical touch are the main five.
Gosh, I
They're
almost say they all are important
yes.
to me. I hate having to pick. I mean, I do think gifts is very, gift giving is very important.
Mm,
I don't expect, for me, it's not expensive. It's about just being thoughtful,
thoughtful.
you
Yeah.
know. So I do think because when Christmas comes around or it's birthday time with anyone in my family, I always try to be really thoughtful about what I get them. And when it's hard to pick a gift for someone that really bothers me, if some people are not easy to buy for.
Hmm.
I think I'm really easy. You go buy anything colorful, fun, dishes, polka dots, I mean, like you just go to Anthropologie. I'll take anything in there, I'd love it.
Oh, that's
but
great.
some people are just harder, but that's hard for me to deal with. But I probably am strong in all those. Definitely words of affirmation would be important as well for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I love that so much. It's
Hmm.
so good. Okay, last one, and then we'll dive into our topic. What was the first concert that you ever went to?
Oh goodness. Oh, mm. I went to some all day concert whenever I was in probably eighth, ninth grade, and it was in Fort Worth. I grew up in the Dallas area, so in Fort Worth we had like an all day. All these different bands came in, and
Okay,
I went
like
with
a
the whole
festival of
big
some
group.
sort. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an indoor thing though, and I went with a whole
Oh,
group of people. That a lot of friends that I knew from school. Just a bunch of us went together. So that is the first thing that I can recall
okay.
going to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those are as a junior high, early high school. Those are big deals. So
Yeah.
fun, so fun. Well, I asked you to join me because we're talking about taking leaps of faith. And I mean, you and I have known one another not for very long, maybe a couple of years now, and have
Hmm.
just so admired and been inspired continuously by what I would say for you is like continuous leaps of faith. Like you're constantly, looking for how can kind of going back to what you said a moment ago, like that drive of how can I make a difference? What can I do, that will enhance other people's lives. So, most recently, you have taken a leap of faith to write a book. And I'm super
Hmm.
excited to talk with you about that today. So, maybe let's start by why write a book?
Yeah. So I had thought about it 2 years ago, talked to my business coach about it, and she was like, "Of course, yes, write the book." And for my business, I think of, it's more about brand awareness, right? So
Mhm.
like that's typically the problem that most people entrepreneurs have, just making more people aware of
Yep.
what you do. And so, I was thinking about doing a book in hopes of maybe getting a TV show or something like that. So, my coach had told me yes. I had talked to there's a in my mastermind that I'm a part of, it has just a ton of really great professionals in it. So
Mm.
my photographer is from there. And there's a guy who has a ghostwriting school, and he also coaches people who want to write books. That's like his lowest service. And so I met with him over lunch, and he and I talked about it, and found out how much it was. And, gosh, it was I mean, everything is expensive about doing a book.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I was just like, that's what was holding me back. I was like, oh, I don't want to spend that kind of money. Because, when you're a younger business, sometimes it just feels like money just goes out the window, out the window, out, because you're spending in order to get yourself to the next level.
Yep.
And so, it took me until last spring. I had another meeting with my business coach, and I was like, well, should I do this? Because I'm not wanting to because it's so expensive. And if I self publish, it's going to cost a lot of money out of my pocket.
Hmm.
And so, of course, she was like, yes, do it because it's going to get you a TV show. So I was like, all right. So I met with the book coach again. And so he agreed to help me out. So I needed also to set aside time because I know how to write a book. I've written when I was an educational consultant, I wrote a lot of books, all different kinds of things from readers to lesson plans to professional development books to all of that. So I know that I always write really good early in the morning.
Mm.
So I knew I was going to have to start getting up really early in order to write my best work. And if I'm paying for this, I am
Yep.
going to do it and finish it. I mean,
Yes.
it's like you don't want to waste money paying for people to help you and then you never use them and you don't follow through. So I knew I needed the space to do it. And I figured out, okay, if it has like 9 chapters, how much time do I really need to write this? And so my goal was to write it in 3 months. And it took me three and a half. So that's fine with me. But the weeks I was out of town, if I was on vacation or went to a mastermind meeting, I didn't write at all. Like there's no pressure on those
Yep.
days. And so, I was just deciding, okay, so when I'm home Monday through Friday, that's my writing time. from 5 a.m. to 7:30 in the morning. And because I just knew it was the best time for me. So I
Mm.
knew I needed to have the space to devote and dedicate to that. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it,
Yep.
kind of thing. So I had set aside May through August, and just to see how can I do this, And so I wanted to be done at the beginning of August, but it's more mid-August that I was done. But and then all the edits and the revisions, and I have friends who really pitched in, and Reddit gave me a lot of feedback. I have a really good friend, Debbie, who she would get on the phone and look at the document and talk me through line by line,
Mm.
making sure it made sense, giving me alternatives, what made sound better. So that was really great to have that sounding board of people like
Yeah.
that. And then we hired a real editor to edit the book and get all the mistakes out. And then I asked some people in my audience to read it early on and tell me, does it make sense? Like, what am I missing? Are there things you wished I would have
Mm.
done? Or, so, it was just trying to kind of work through it step by step. So when I devoted and I decided, okay, I'm doing this, like I was committed,
Yes.
at that
Yep.
point. But yeah, it was a process for me. So I really have to, because I can really only focus on one thing at a time. Like I can't do a bunch of things. Like it's just, I get crazy like that. And I can't,
Hmm.
it's never my best work. So I knew I needed some downtime and time that I could just really focus and write, because you got to get in the flow when you're
Yep.
writing something. You don't want a lot of interruptions. You don't want to be out of town a lot either, because you come back and think, what in the heck was I even thinking when I wrote this? Because, it broke your flow. And so you weren't thinking about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, that's
Mm-hmm.
so good. I really appreciate that for
Yeah.
sure. Hi, friends. Oh, I'm just interrupting this conversation with Wendy really quick to tell you about a very exciting offer that I am giving you this month. So I know that many of you have reached out to me and have said, okay, these conversations over the last month and a half have been so inspiring about taking a leap of faith. And I think that I want to take a leap of faith for myself, but I don't know how to do that. And I have all these fears that are crowding in and all of these expectations that I have of myself and of others, and I don't know how to fit it in my life. And I am fearful about all of the unexpected things that might come up and the hurdles and the challenges. And I want you to know that that's what I do. And you've heard from many of these ladies over the last month and a half who have been my clients and who I've worked with when they're in that season of preparing to take a leap of faith and actually launching with their leap of faith. So I would love the opportunity to coach with you and to help you as you navigate your leap of faith. So this month, for the month of March, I am offering that anyone who starts working with me as a coaching client, that if you work with me for 6 months, I will give you a 7th month for free at no charge. So reach out to me today, Laurel@laurelemry.com. Let's get some time on the calendar and let's get started working toward your leap of faith. So, you became convinced that, okay, this is the right thing to do, the right time. You had the end result in mind of building brand awareness, hoping to get the TV show. So that was kind of in the back of your head. I think one of the things, and you know this, I'm sure you've seen it and others have experienced it, but I hear it so much from my clients and other people that I work with of it's the emotional part, the insecurity part, the doubts in yourself part that are maybe the bigger hurdle than getting past kind of, okay, am I going to be committed to this from a financial perspective, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about like your journey from kind of the mental preparation, emotional, preparation aspect of it.
So, whenever I write, and I know I'm an okay writer. I'm not the best by any means, but I'm certainly not terrible, and so I'm okay. It's kind of how I view it. And I, when I decide to do something like this, it's just I just kind of try to, when I'm writing the manuscript, I'm in my own head. I mean, I have my friend who gets on the phone and talks me through it, and I trust her. She's
Mm.
good. And she'll tell me if it's, she'll help me fix it if it's not, but it's private. It's all private when I'm writing like that. She's seeing it, and maybe I'll let my husband read it and tell me what he thinks, or one of my daughters, and get some of their feedback. But like the public doesn't know. So that's okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
But even at the beginning, I remember giving it to my book coach to read, and I was hoping he wasn't going to come back and say this is terrible, which he's not that kind of person anyway. But you always think you do have those, but like I just don't let fear control me not moving forward. Like that is what it is, right? It's fear. And so whenever I'm getting to the end of it, this past January, I'm about to open my book party for the launch. And now my book is about to be available for pre-order. So now it's all coming real. And trust me, I posted in my mastermind group about this. Okay, guys, what if nobody buys the book? Like, what if people
Yeah.
hate it? And of course, they're all reassuring and, trying to not be attached to other people's feelings of it. It's hard. It's hard not to be, but I guess when you can try to change your thinking to, okay, it's not about me. It's about, can my book help somebody? And then that makes it easier, I think, to digest. And that's for everything that we do. You create a course, you're scared to put it out there. Well, it's not about you. What if it can really help someone? And so I think when you can learn to switch that story in your head
Mm-hmm.
to it being about others and not about you, that helps to detach a little bit from what you hope other people feel about it. You just need to feel good that you did your best. Could I have done any better? No. This is my best. I couldn't have done
Mm.
any better than this. And so at the end of the day, like someone else would have to write the book for it to be better, because I can't do any better than that, and so just being okay with it and knowing that I'm hoping that it's helpful for people,
Yeah.
but taking that leap and deciding to self-publish was another big hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
I'd had a publishing company that was sort of interested in it, and they like move like molasses, and so
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
another big thing was I had my website designer. She designs books, and so it was perfect because she knows my brand, and I wanted it to look a certain way. Of course, here's that Enneagram 3 coming out, and I wanted it to look a certain way. I wanted to say the things I wanted to say. This is the book that I wanted to write, and that's what I was encouraged by my book coach. Write the book you want to write.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, so I'm not going to worry if other people are going to like it. This is the book I really want to write. And I feel like for me, it came from my heart, that I was vulnerable in a lot of it. At the end of it, I tell my story of trying to make it as an entrepreneur, and it was hard. It was just
Mm.
hard. A lot of tears, and even every time I read that section, like I just start tearing up. I can't help it. And I was doing the audio recording of it. And I mean, I got to that part and I just had to stop because I was like, I'm sorry. I was about to start crying, and so it's just, I'm just trying to be myself. And so deciding to self-publish takes a lot of money
Yeah.
right off the top of, you got to have some cash in the bank to do it. And there's no guarantee I'll get my money back, at all. But in order to get the book that I wanted, it just was a better option because a publisher might want to change it. I'm certain they would want to change the look of it. I mean, they might not have gone for so much color, and it's very colorful, but that's me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and any other book would not feel right to my brand. So, it's just kind of deciding that, okay, well, I'm just going to prove that I can do this, you
Mm.
know? So I kind of try to have that mentality, and then I just push forward and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps anybody else.
No, that's so good.
It's probably a lot of my personality. The way I approach this is
Mm-hmm.
because of my personality and how I am. Everyone feels insecure about their stuff. I mean, I do too.
Yeah.
I think that's just human. to feel that way. But if I can just switch it to, well, if it can help somebody,
Yeah.
then it's worth doing, you know.
Mm. Yeah, that's so good. I really appreciate that you brought that up about the self-publishing because I think that is something that people who haven't ever published or haven't really looked into it, like that is an unknown an area that we all can, learn things about if we're interested in writing a book,
Mm,
publishing a book, because it does, by self-publishing, gives you so much more freedom to do things
yeah.
that you want for the title of the book, the actual covers of the book, and yours is
Mm,
beautiful. It just
yeah,
it is so Wendy. It is so
it is.
true to you, which I love, and
Hmm.
you probably would not have had that freedom to do that, through a traditional publisher.
Yeah, and that would have been very frustrating for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a hard pill to swallow, And I mean, who knows if I sell my books and I need to print more, I can, or I can find an agent and do a second edition, and they will probably be more open to what I've done because I've proven that I can sell them, kind of thing. So it's always on the author to sell the book anyway. It's never the publisher. They don't market, they don't do anything. It really is up to the author to do it
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
So it might as well be the book that you want it to be.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And I think there's a misnomer too in publishing that self-published books like can't be as successful. And I think one of the most recent examples, that goes against that myth is I think Navy SEAL David Goggins. His book
oh yeah.
"Can't Hurt Me" has sold like
Yes.
4 million copies, and it's a self-published book. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. They can sell well for sure.
Yeah.
So
And like Mel Robbins self-published her first book. I mean, so people who have, and I'm not looking to be, an author or anything like that, but this is just an asset to what I'm trying to do and to try to get me to the next level. But I mean, people who really want to be authors, it definitely can. And, and because mine's full color, like you can do a print on demand,
yeah.
if you're just writing a regular book. Now, because mine's full color, the print on demand was way expensive. Like I couldn't do it.
Yes.
Like I
Yeah.
had to buy in bulk in order to make it work and to be able to sell it under $30. But there's all kinds of things if people want to self-publish, it's not a red mark anymore to
No.
self-publish. It
Yeah.
very much is accepted. More and more people are doing it. Even if they can get publishing deals, they would rather do it themselves because really at the end of the day, you can make more money if you do it yourself
You
rather than
can.
have a publisher do it. And it's just a vanity thing to say, oh, I was published by, I don't know, HarperCollins or whatever. And that's
Yes.
fine too. There's nothing
Sure.
wrong with that. But, you just have to decide what's important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did a great YouTube video that I'll link in the show notes that kind of walks through a little bit more of the actual pragmatics and the process of it. Talk a little bit about is there anything now when you're just about ready to launch that looking back you would have done differently?
Mm, I'm really happy with my photos.
Mm.
Uh, I wish we just had more time to
Mm.
photograph more. Like some of the pictures had to come from me
Hmm.
because I didn't have a shot of my living room. I didn't have my photographer do that. So like we're always in a rush because you pay by the day
Yep.
and it's expensive. It's real expensive to have a good photographer, so, but it's like how many hours in a day do you have to get everything ready for that moment when they come to your house? So I'm always racing to get things done. So, I mean, it would have been nice if I just had more time,
Yeah.
but that is just, that's the problem always. I think I am so glad that I hired a book coach, first of all, for my
Mhm.
book. I needed that kind of feedback from him. Plus he has the know-how of self-publishing for the most part, so he's been super helpful. So I'm not all alone out here trying to figure it
Yeah.
out. I've got someone I can, email and say, hey, how do I do this? Or how do I get an ISBN sticker? I mean, all those weird things that you don't even think about. And, just having professional people help me, like, him, my photographer, my book designer. I had a professional audio recording of a guy who
Mhm.
has a studio that I've worked with back in my old publishing days. He's a professional. Like he knew how to put them into files. So hopefully they'll be on Audible, once it's on Amazon. And so things like that. So like paying people who are good at what they do. I mean, for me to even think that I could have recorded it myself, I mean, I messed up so much when I was doing the recording, and I'm glad I knew him because I mean, it's embarrassing, but I mean, like I'm not enunciating my words, I'm skipping words, or I'm adding extra words, and so he was good at what he did, and so that's why you pay people to help you produce
Mhm.
something that you can feel good about. And so I can say that is what I'm so glad I did,
Mhm.
looking back, and having my web designer design my book is the best thing ever. I didn't know that she designed books, and I reached out to her. I just wanted to do the cover, and I was looking at other, designers and book designers from other books. I was opening them up. Things I liked, I would search for the designer and then look them up on social online to see
Oh,
if they have a
yeah.
website.
Great idea.
And so I have messaged my web designer saying, "Hey, do you ever do book covers?" And she said, "I actually do whole books." And I'm like, "Well, of course you do." And so that was a no brainer. Like at that point, it's like, I'm not thinking of anybody else because she knows my brand. She knows my color. She
Mhm.
knows the vibe that I'm trying to get. She's so good at it. Like I trust her. So all these other people who are so good at what they do make me look better. My photographer makes me look better than I do. My copywriter makes me sound better than I do. It's just all these things that I'm so glad I had the help that I had. It wasn't all by myself. So that's what I'm really happy about. I can say that, but more time would have been great. But I'm always in a hurry to get it done and get it out there and things
Yes.
like that. So
Yep. Yeah. That driver achiever in you. Yeah. They
I
stick with the
know,
plan.
I know, got to see it through. But
Yeah.
then the other part of it is, having that kind of personality is just also realizing, you got to stop and smell the roses and you got to enjoy this process. And
Hmm.
like right now, it's all these moving parts of getting a fulfillment center, trying to get another book distributor to get me on Amazon and all the things that I don't know how to do. Like
Yep.
it's all new. And, just trying to enjoy the moment, like
Mm.
trying to not be stressed or upset or worried or whatever, and be miserable. I want it to be fun. And so I'm
Yes.
trying. That's always at the front of
Yeah.
my mind. It's not every day is fun. I've had some hard days lately, but my goal is this is not rocket science. There's got to be people who can help me figure this out, and so I talk myself back off the ledge.
Yes. Yeah. That's
So
so good. And that, I mean, you hear it all the time through Chair Whimsy in your courses. And I hear it all the time too. Like people get tripped up on just, these little steps when it's like we are in a day and an age when there is information for everything available to us at
yes,
our fingertips. And so I love just, you asking your web designer the question, like, do you know somebody? Well, as it so happens, and that's
yeah,
we have to ask the question or go and research
yeah.
it, and even you being in a mastermind, and that's what those things are for,
Mm.
the good community, good networking.
It
So
really
good.
is. I mean, it's so valuable, the people you know. It
Yes.
really is.
Yeah, I love that so much. So you are doing a super fun launch for your book of having people
Mhm.
actually come to your house. So tell a little bit
Yes.
about your launch party.
Well, this is probably the nuttiest thing I've ever done, but I love home tours. Okay. This is like, if you want to know what I think is fun, I'm about to go to Charleston in a few weeks. And I just drive around and look at houses. And like, I'll pay to go on the home and garden tour.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
love seeing how other homes are put together. It gives me ideas and inspiration for things I could do, but it's also just brings me a lot of joy, to see
Mm.
just the design that people and what they live in. So I am doing a tour. I'm doing a grand tour of my home. So people will come in and they'll get to tour my home. And like I've got wallpaper in almost every room. Like I'm always doing a makeover somewhere here. So it's just kind of it's the way I have fun, it's just making over little spaces in my home. It's a
I
lot of
love
fun
it.
for me. So people get to tour my home. I've got a little camper named Willie, for Willie Nelson on the road again. We got it during COVID. And so we were able to get back on the road again. And so I've decorated my camper. It has wallpaper in it and all kinds of really fun colors. So people will get to tour the camper. I built a greenhouse during COVID. And so people can tour my greenhouse. And then, of course, I have my studio out back. And so people are going to get to tour that. And so we're going to have like a frosé machine. We're going to have a cupcake truck. We're going to have like charcuterie cups. And I've got this big bathtub that I bought, claw-footed bathtub on. I got it on Marketplace and I painted it pink. And we're going to ice it down and all the drinks are going to be in
Oh, I
there.
love
And
it.
we're going to have a photo booth, like the old-fashioned photo booth, where people can go in and take their picture and print out a fun little strip as a memo, just something or a memento to remind them of being here. But I mean, it's just going to be fun. I'm going to get to meet a lot of my followers and talk with them. And it's going to be so much fun. I'm
I
so
love
looking
it.
forward to it. It's at the end of March. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So it's Saturday, the 25th of March. Is that right?
It's the 25th. Yep. Yep. We have
Okay.
a few tickets left. So
I will make sure and we can all link in the show notes if you want to go and be a part of the launch and tour Wendy's house and camper and studio and greenhouse. And that's so
yeah.
wonderful.
And it's the perfect time of year to come here because the Round Top Flea Market is going on. And that's like
Mm.
about an hour and a half, toward Houston. So it's halfway between Houston and Austin. But it is a huge, flea market. If you love flea markets, this is the one to come to. So it's happening at the same time. So people are making a trip out of it. And they're going to, Round Top, and they're going to go up to Waco, to Magnolia
Fun.
properties. And then, of course, Austin has so many cool things to
Yeah.
see. And it's a good time of year. It's not too hot yet. The blue bonnets will be out and all the, other wildflowers will be coming up. So it's a beautiful time to come to the Austin area. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I love it. So, so fun. Just to close us out, any final advice that you would give to someone who, has a book inside of them and is just
Yeah.
hasn't kind of, made that commitment to dive into writing their book?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say if you really want to do it, write the book you want to write. That's the advice that was given to me. Write the book that you want to write and make sure it's the priority. Set aside a time and say, I'm going to do it in this many months and commit, be disciplined and get up, or stay up late at night, whenever your best writing time is. If it's afternoon, night, mornings, whatever it might be, because everyone's different, but set aside that time. Don't look at your phone. It's like sacred time to get your work done. And so, and there's going to be bad days of writing every week. You're going to have a couple bad days. You're going to have a couple okay days, and you're going to have one really good day. This is the cycle of how it works. And you can't let the bad days derail you and say, well, I'm giving up. Nope, because creativity, that's the way it works. You've got to sometimes work through the hard things in order to have a breakthrough. And then one of the days you'll just write so much because it's all there. Well, it's because you had the hard days. Your brain is trying to figure out the method, the voice you're trying to use. It's trying to figure out the message you're trying to give. And so it takes kind of getting through the mud, and then it kind of happens. So, you can't let the bad days derail you. It'll all work out in the end if you just stick with it.
Yes.
So that's my
So
advice.
good. Yep. I love that. And it's so, so true. Well, thank you so much for bringing whimsy into our lives. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it.
Okay, are you just not seriously pumped up and so inspired? I love that conversation, and it truly just sparks creativity and inspiration in me, and I know that it does the same for you. So thank you so much for listening. And I would love for you to be able to get a copy of Wendy's book. The link is in the show notes, but you can find it at chairwhimsy.com/book. And if you want to join for that amazingly fun launch party that she's doing on March 25th, there's a link in the show notes to get your ticket to that. I think she has less than 24 tickets still available for that. So you want to make sure that you get that now. And as you heard from Wendy, she genuinely wants to be able to make a difference in our lives. And so please just join her in her community. She would love to connect with you personally through email, through her YouTube channel, through Instagram. She does just a lovely job of being available and really making herself accessible and wanting to just inspire you and to be directly involved with all of us. And I just love and appreciate that about her so much. So thank you so much for listening to this inspiring conversation. I know that it sparked creativity in you today, as it did for me. Thank you. What an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. Thank you so much for inviting me to journey with you. I look forward to being back with you next week, where we'll hear another story from a woman whom I love and am inspired by and look forward to learning from.